In the violent, loud, and often short-lived world of the American Mafia, there was one man who broke every rule of the gangster stereotype. While his peers were ending up in pine boxes or behind bars for life, this man was quietly orchestrating the most lucrative deals in criminal history. He was the bridge between the Italian mob and the Jewish syndicate, a man so trusted that he became the silent partner to the legendary Meyer Lansky. They called him Jimmy Blue Eyes, not because he was a movie star, but because those eyes saw everything and revealed nothing. This is the real story of Vincent Allo, the man who proved that in the underworld, the loudest person in the room is the weakest, and the quietest is often the king. Vincent Allo was born in 1904 in the heart of East Harlem, during a time when New York City was a sprawling battlefield for immigrant gangs. But Allo was different from the street thugs of his era. He didn't have the hot-headed temperament that led many of his contemporaries to an early grave. From a young age, he displayed a calm, calculating demeanor that caught the attention of the rising stars of the underworld. By the time he was in his 20s, he was already an associate of the Joe Masseria faction, but his true evolution began when he aligned himself with Charlie Lucky Luciano. While other mobsters were busy fighting over territory in the Castellammarese War, Allo was looking at the bigger picture. He realized that the future of crime wasn't in petty theft or street corner muscle, it was in the business of crime. He became a made man in what would eventually become the Genovese crime family, but he wasn't just another soldier, he was a diplomat. He was one of the few individuals who possessed the social intelligence to navigate the cultural divides of the New York underworld. The most significant turning point in Allo's life, and arguably in the history of organized crime, was his partnership with Meyer Lansky. At the time, Italian and Jewish gangs often operated in silos, occasionally clashing over turf. However, Luciano and Lansky envisioned a national syndicate that functioned like a corporation. Vincent Allo was chosen to be the primary liaison between the Italians and Lansky's Jewish organization. This wasn't just a business arrangement, it was a genuine, lifelong friendship. In a world defined by betrayal, the bond between Allo and Lansky was unbreakable. Allo provided the muscle and the institutional backing of the mafia, while Lansky provided the financial genius and the vision for global gambling empires. Together, they moved beyond the grimy streets of New York and set their sights on a tropical paradise that would become the mob's greatest ATM, Cuba. In the late 1940s and 50s, Vincent Allo was instrumental in the mob's expansion into Havana. Under the protection of Cuban dictator Fulgencio Batista, Allo and Lansky built a gambling mecca that rivaled anything the world had ever seen. While the public saw glamorous casinos like the Sans Souci and the Riviera, Allo was behind the scenes, ensuring the skim, the untaxed cash taken off the top, was handled with surgical precision. He was the man on the ground, the one who kept the peace between the various families who all wanted a piece of the Cuban pie. He wasn't seen in the newspapers. He wasn't the one posing for photos with starlets. He was the shadow in the corner of the room, making sure the suitcases of cash made their way back to New York without a dollar missing. His reputation for honesty among thieves was his greatest asset. If Jimmy Blue Eyes said a deal was fair, the commission accepted it. What makes Vincent Allo's story truly remarkable is his ability to avoid the limelight. During the 1950s, the United States government began to take a serious interest in organized crime. The Kefauver Committee hearings were televised across the country, turning mobsters into household names. Men like Frank Costello were grilled under the hot lights of the Senate. Vincent Allo, however, remained a ghost. He understood that fame was a death sentence in his profession. He lived a relatively modest life in a quiet neighborhood, avoiding the flashy cars and jewelry that attracted the FBI. Even when he was eventually called to testify, he remained a wall of silence. He was convicted of perjury in 1970 and served a brief stint in prison, one of the few times the law ever managed to touch him. But even then, he never flipped. He never talked. He adhered to the old-school code of omerta with a discipline that was rare even in his own circles. Within the Genovese family, Alo rose to the rank of capo regime and eventually acted as a high-level advisor to the bosses. He was the elder statesman. When younger, more volatile members wanted to start wars, it was Alo who would step in with a calm voice and a logical solution. He was a man of high culture in a world of low morals. He enjoyed fine dining, travel, and the company of his wife Florence, to whom he remained married for decades, another rarity in a world of mistresses and gumas. His influence extended into the Florida gambling scene as well. After the Cuban Revolution in 1959 wiped out the mob's holdings in Havana, Alo didn't panic, he simply pivoted. He helped establish Broward County, Florida, as a new hub for illegal bookmaking and casinos. He moved through the world like a breeze, felt by everyone, but seen by no one. The most ungangster part of Vincent Alo's life was the way it ended. In the movies, the mobster either dies in a hail of bullets or rots away in a maximum security prison. Vincent Alo did neither. After decades of being at the top of the most powerful criminal organization in the world, he retired. He spent his final years in Florida, living as a wealthy, respected old man. He watched as the old structures of the mafia crumbled under the weight of the RICO Act and internal betrayals. He saw his contemporaries die in prison or turn into government informants. Through it all, he remained silent, a living vault of secrets that could have toppled governments and destroyed entire families. In 2001, Vincent Alo passed away from natural causes at the staggering age of 97. He died in his own bed, a free man. He left behind a legacy as the gentleman gangster, the man who proved that intelligence is more powerful than a Tommy gun, and that loyalty is the only currency that truly matters in the end. Vincent Alo's life is a masterclass in the power of the low profile. He was a man who lived through the most violent century of crime and emerged not only wealthy, but untouched. He was the silent architect of the modern American underworld, a man whose blue eyes saw the birth, the rise, and the eventual decay of the classic mafia, taking every secret he ever learned to his grave.